We are in discussion of AWS solutions architect. And previous videos, we've been discussing about few of topics. And I was thinking to give you an idea, just created few questions. We're going to discuss these questions, but I'm going to show you the same question, one single question. How do we going to come up with in a different way, in a different view of perspective? So this is going to be the same question, all right? So, but you can see when I show you, it can come in a different format. All right, so this question, the first one in the screen, you can see it's focused on a multi-region resilience and load balancing. The main focus on this question, right? So let's read the question here. Your company hosts a web application on EC2 instance into availability zone, right? So you got a high availability in there, right? Using an application load balancer, management now wants the application to survive a full region failure while keeping a cost reasonable. Which architecture best meet these requirements? So this seems this having sort of availability, high availability in the region, right? But it doesn't have any uh, high availability when the region goes off. Let's see, you have this one in one of the region, whatever the region, let's say USD is one or wherever, right? But it's not now, it doesn't have a regional failure resistance, so it's only have a failure to one availability zone. So let's see what is the best solution for making it available in one region, whole region failure. All right, so the first answer is there. So enable cross-region load balancing directly on the ALB to automatically distribute the traffic between regions. All right. So the first is suggesting you use cross-region load balancing, right, to ALB to automatically distribute traffic between regions. So the second option is use single ALB across both regions and configure Route 53 to point to ALB DNS name. So suggesting to use one ALB and across regions, and then you can use DNS to fail over, something like that. Deploy the same stack in second region with Route 53 latency-based routing and health checks. Use auto scaling in both regions, right? So that's giving you to deploy the same sort of setup in mother region, and then you use Route 53 based failover, right? The fourth one is a configure an ALB in a primary region. So use the load balance in a primary region and use VPC peering to route traffic to instance in secondary region during failover. So in a failover, use secondary region through VPC peering. All right, so it's a very close answers. It's a lot of confusing. This is seems sort of solutions architect question and answer. So, what is the best way to use this one? All right, let's have a look at the setup and let's see whether how can we separate these answers, right? So, company host a web application easy to instance in two availability zone using application load balancer. So this is actually in a region. The resources are in a one region with two availability zones. So it's working with the load balancer, right? So it's one availability zone goes off. It's still it can get the traffic from another second availability zone. So, but now management won't survive a full region failure. Maybe let's see, you had a problem with the region failure, and now you know the results when your region failure you don't have availability, and then now management want you to uh, save it for a regional failure. All right. So the first one is asking enable cross-region load balancing directly on ALB to automatically distribute traffic between regions. All right. So this is where my previous importance of my previous videos, and this is the importance of understanding how services are related to a region, availability zone, or global. So, in this first answer, you could see this is impossible scenario because load balancing, you don't have cross-region load balancer. So, load balancing always attached to a region. If you go to load balancing a service in AWS, you could see it's directly when you create a load balancer, it's going to be a regional. So this scenario, the first one they're talking is not possible, right? All right. So what is the second answer? Use a single ALB across both regions and configure Route 53. All right. That's the same thing. Single load balancer. You can't use a single load balancer across regions because load balancer is a regional service. So you can't use one single load balancer in two regions uh, because it's a regional service. All right. So what is the number third one? Third one is a deploy same stack. So we can get rid of answers A and B. So deploy same stack in a second region with Route 53, latency based routing, and health checks use auto scaling in both regions. All right. So this is sort of a feasible answer. So what you have to do, you have to use sort of a cloud formation template to deploy this in a second region. And then you have to configure Route 53 and latency-based routing and health checks. If any region fails, that's fail over to the second region automatically. So that is a feasible answer. Let's have a look at the second one. So configure an ALB in primary region and use VPC peering to traffic to instance in secondary region during failover. So initially, it seems this is a feasible thing, but it's a latency and when you create in latency and other stuff, this is not a feasible solution. So we can't use VPC peering to get a traffic from another region. It seems it's possible, but it's not sort of a resilience uh, solution to this question. What are the requirements? So the requirement will be answer is number three. So deploy the same stack in second region with the Route 53 latency based routing and health checks. Use auto scaling in both regions. So that is the answer you have to come up with. All right. So let's have a look. This one, we focus on multi-region resilience and load balancing in this question. Let's have a look how you can get the same question in a different way, right? All right. Let's go to the second one. Let me make it a little bit bigger because you can see the second one. All right. Okay. Good. All right. So let's read the second question. So version one of the first question. So this is focus on disaster recovery focus. So we did disaster recovery. We discussed disaster recovery as well as in my previous videos, right? So all right. So what it says, your organization operates a critical web service using a application load balancer and EC2 instance across two availability zones in the Sydney region. All right. So see that is giving the same information in a one region, right? So, uh, all right. So it's giving you the same sort of details in a different way. So it's telling Sydney region you have a critical web service, right? Uh, with the ALB. So CTO, right? So boss, the boss asks you to implement disaster recovery plan that allows the application to continue functioning if entire Sydney region become unavailable. The boss says, "Hey, Mister, did you see what happened when the last region failure? So make sure region is available." That's what boss says. Boss says he to come into boss room. Hey, boss, come in, take a seat. So what you have to do is you have to do the same thing, right? So ask you to implement a disaster recovery plan to allow application to continue functioning. The entire Sydney region becomes unavailable. So actually, the first thing I want to check is you need to make sure that your data is compliant. You need to get another region with your data compliance. Let's say you selected one other region, right? Which data is compliance, your data can go to the other region, right? All right. So which solution provide the best combination of availability and cost efficiency? So it's asking. So the major two factors is when region goes, need availability, and then secondly, cost efficiency. So the first answer is deploy the application in second AWS region and auto scaling and route 53 health check and figure profile lower. That's what it is, right? And all other ones answers are wrong. We discussed that one, right? So that is how it can come up with another format, the same one. All right. Let's looking into this question coming in a way in a different format, right? All right, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, otherwise this next question coming to us. All right, so version two of the same question, high availability and cost control, right? All right, so what is it? A web application currently uses an application load balancer with EC2 instance in a multi-availability zone within a one region, right? So it clearly says this is in a multiple availability zones. Previous question it says two availability zones, but this says one region. So management want to extend the architecture to tolerate regional outage but avoid unnecessary duplication of infrastructure. So what do you mean by unnecessary duplication? So cost that says, boss says, hey, coming in, I want to make sure region failures, we need to save, but keep in mind, you have to make sure your cost is a minimum as well, right? So, you know the answer. So that's Route 53 health checks and deploy in the app in a second region with auto scaling to handle payload traffic, right? So that is the answer. So it does not say it's a cloud formation. Just need to terraform or cloud formation or sort of whatever the way you need to duplicate it in a second region and then use a DNS, Route 53 DNS failover facility with using the health checks, right? So this is in in a way of high availability and cost control. All right. Let's see. Um, these questions, same question, come in another way, right? Okay. All right. We're going to be looking into a different perspective in the same question. What perspective is that? Version 3. Version 3, we're going to looking in the way that DNS and load balancing perspective, right? All right. So let's have a look. What is it? Your company runs EC2 instances in an auto scaling group behind an ALB across two availability zones. Same thing, right? You running a web service using a ALB, right? Doesn't say it's web, definitely going to be a web. So management now want to support users in Asia Pacific region without downtime in case of a regional failure. Right? Management now want to support users in Asia Pacific region without downtime in case of regional failure. All right. So what is the same thing, right? So Asia Pacific region, the resources are running, but if Asia Pacific region goes down, so what we have to do? So deploy the same architecture in second region, configure Route 53 with latency-based routing and health checks to fail lower as needed, right? So turn on cross-region routing will be balanced traffic between current and other region automatically. So use single LP route with three line different period. We use VPC peering connection for backup service in or second region, so you can't do that. So the same thing, right? Same thing coming up. What do you want to do when it's coming up with the version 3? All right, so we're going to have a look another one version, right? Version 4. Version 4 architecture decision meeting, right? During an AWS architecture OV review, your team discussing improving fault tolerance for customer-facing application running in a true availability zone behind an ALB. The requirement is to maintain availability even if the entire region becomes unavailable, but with careful considerations of cost. So, what is the most appropriate solution, right? So, what is the most uh, appropriate solution? So, set up the same stack in other region, configuring auto scaling, and use 53 health checks and latency routing, direct traffic, right? So that's the answer. So, think this is you to get an idea. So this is how sort of questions coming looks like. So it doesn't ask you how many availability zones in one single region or something like sort of an answer. So you need to come into solutions architecture mindset, resilience, security. There's no much security in here, but that is you need to keep on mind. Resilience, secure, right? And high available, need to be fault tolerant, right? And then disaster recovery, right? And the cost. So these are the factors you need to consider. So see that it says careful considerations of cost, right? What is the easiest, cheapest way to use this one? So keep in mind. So the sort of I gave you a sort of whatever we did in a previous sort of videos, so you could understand now what are the things coming on. All right, so I think hopefully you can you get an idea what is a, solution architect questions looks like. I'm going to end this session today, and hopefully you guys get something out from this session. And I'll see you guys from next video. Until then, thank you very much.